we have a first one coming from Jonathan Tanwald. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Thanks, Aaron. Excuse me. Hi, Becky. Hope that all is well with you, and thanks for the time. With a lot of the attention obviously coming on Carly over these two games, I think the stats show that she's played in more major tournament games, World Cups and Olympics, than any player in U.S. women's national team history. And obviously there's a lot of those players in a lot of tournaments. And I wonder what that stat, says to you about her longevity and obviously all the contributions that she's made. Thanks.
Yeah, I think that's a testament to her longevity, but I also think that's a testament to her just being a winner. And when she's on the team, and she obviously is a big game player, she's shown up in some of the biggest games that women's soccer has to offer. And we go long in those tournaments, and a big reason is because we have players like Carly Lloyd. And so I'm not surprised to hear that stat at all. In fact, if I had to guess, I would have guessed her anyway. But I think that she's just a player that's proven herself over and over and over again. And a large reason that this team has been so successful is because of Carly Lloyd.
Thanks, Jonathan. Next question, and once again, raise your hand if you have questions for Becky. We'll go to Sean Goodwin. Go ahead, Sean.
Hey, Becky, it's Sean Goodwin with Kansas City Star. Obviously you spent some time here in Kansas City, and as I'm sure when you've been back here, you've seen across the city the 2026 World Cup posters and streetcar and everything going on. Just for you, soccer in the city as a whole, you were here for really the start of women's soccer here. How big of a soccer city do you see Kansas City, especially with their push for a 2026 World Cup?
I have such a fondness for Kansas City, and my career pretty much professionally, this is where I really grew up. I see myself in Kansas City as the formative years of my career. And it's definitely a soccer city, and I think it would be a great moment for the city itself to be able to host a World Cup game. I'm sure it would be done spectacularly, and I think the response and the attendance and just the welcoming that the city would provide for a game like that would be monumental and would be wonderful. So absolutely a soccer city. Would love to see it continue to thrive as a soccer city. And so, bring all the games to Kansas City.
Thanks, Becky.
Thanks, Becky. And looks like next question goes to Seth Vertelny. Go ahead, Seth. Hold on. Sorry. Go ahead.
Hey, Becky. Thanks for the time today. I wanted to ask you to just kind of take us through what the last few weeks have been like for you amidst all the turmoil in the NWSL, and particularly, being at a club now where some of these events were alleged to have happened, and now you have fans kind of revolting against some of the executives at the club, and what that's been like for you just being in that environment.
I would say that it's been heavy, and being with the players at Portland, the sadness, the anger, the need to want to create change, and it's been tough. It's been really tough. We've had a lot of conversations amongst the players. We've had talks with front office. We've had talks with HR, and it's just, all I can say, it's been really heavy, and we've leaned into one another a lot and have had a lot of hard, open conversations about what happened and what needs to change. And I know the NWSLPA has been doing such an amazing job demanding certain changes, making sure the scope of the investigation is broad enough to make sure that the players are protected. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what we want, that all the players are protected.
Thanks, Seth. Thanks. Becky, let's go to Jeff Carlisle. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thanks, Aaron. Hi, Becky. I'm curious, what is your approach to these games? Because this strikes me as kind of an awkward period, just in the cycle. The Olympics are done. You guys are starting to look ahead a little bit. Obviously you guys have a lot of pride in what you do, but just what is the motivation? What are you guys focusing on in games like this?
I think our motivation is always to perform well, to get good results, to keep growing as a team. It is an interesting part because of the cycle, because it is kind of a celebration tour. We also have Lindsey Horan's 100th cap celebration tomorrow, plus Carly's retirement and celebration match in Minneapolis. So in a way, it should also be celebratory. And so enjoying the time we have together, because for some of us, it's limited. And just making sure that Carly is sent off in a way that is appropriate to what she's meant to this program.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Let's pop down to Meg Linehan. Go ahead, Meg.
Becky, just to, I guess, piggyback off of Jeff a little bit, in terms of the players that are able to come into these matches, someone like an Emily Fox or Sophia Smith, like how do you approach these players coming into matches that are more tied to the Olympic roster, that are this kind of celebration, but are still getting chances now for looks with Vlatko?
Yeah, for the newer players coming in, or ones that have been in and out, I would say for them, this is an excellent chance to just show what you have. Emily Fox, Sophia, Mal, like they've all been performing so well in the league. And so I think to continue that and to play well at this level, I think is a good indicator for Vlatko if they should be more in the program going in the future. So for them, I would come into this thinking, okay, this is a great shot to show what I have and to continue the great performances that I've been building up in the NWSL. So for me, I would hope they're going into these games as, this is my opportunity. This is a great opportunity for me to show what I have.
And are you just, trying to take them under your wing a little bit as captain in these moments to try to communicate that to them?
I mean, we're certainly welcoming them into the group. We're not trying to scare them away by any means. But yeah, it's definitely a like, hey, let's make this as comfortable for you as possible, because being here, this environment, it's not comfortable. So we definitely don't want to add any extra stressors or anything like that. So yeah, it's just allowing them the freedom to be who they are and play how they know they can play.
Perfect. Thank you, Becky.
Thanks, Meg. Let's go to Alex Ozzie. Go ahead, Alex.
Hey, Becky, thank you so much for taking the time today. Piggybacking a little bit off of Seth's question about the last couple of weeks, something that I found interesting reading about is just the sentiment that throughout the history of women's soccer, professional, Olympic, the sense of fragility around it has caused fear of speaking up, of like not wanting to break something that, could easily fall over. And I'm curious if you're willing to speak on that topic, and if that's something that you felt over time, and if there was a moment ever for you that you felt like a turning point along those lines.
Yeah, I would say that throughout my career as a professional player, that there's always been that underlying fear that should the league get too much bad publicity, or should players speak up, that the league would just fold. And I would say that is a pervasive feeling that it's felt amongst a lot of players. As a national team player, I've also felt that pressure that our participation in the league was contingent on the league actually existing. And so I think that's been felt by a lot of players at a lot of different levels. And I think the outrageousness of this year, with the amount of coaches that have been fired, now with the allegations of sexual misconduct, it's just been too much. And if you want to talk about when is that feeling of, okay, we have to stop protecting the league, we need to start protecting ourselves, that definitely happened this year, I would say. And I think you've seen that in all the players coming together, the demonstrations, the demands from the PAs to protect the players. And so, yeah, I would definitely say the outrageousness and the tragedy of this year is that moment.
Well said, Becky. Let's go back to Jonathan Tannenwald for the last question, unless anyone else raises their hand. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Thanks, Aaron, and thanks again, Becky. The conversation that Alex and Seth have been prompting brought up to mind something that Alex Morgan said yesterday when she was up on the podium, that she said she hopes that allocated players in the future are part of the NWSLPA, which they obviously aren't right now. I know there's a lot of sensitivity with bargaining and so on, and how it would work, and what you might be willing to say publicly, but do you have anything you might like to say here on that topic?
I agree with Alex. I would really like to see us wrapped into the NWSL and the NWSLPA and being employees of the league. I think that's the direction that we want to go. And we feel that, I think that the NWSLPA and the NWSLPA leadership has shown so much in the last, year with the bargaining, but also with dealing with all the allegations and the investigations. And so I think their leadership is so strong. And I think I would like to be part of that NWSLPA in the future. I definitely think that's the way that the league should be going.
Megan Swanick, go ahead.
Hi, Erin. Thank you for letting me sneak one in.
Yep.
I was a bit late to this session, so I apologize if this was already asked, but I'm wondering, Becky, would you be in favor of a biannual World Cup, and why or why not?
So I have to admit that I don't have all the information to make a definitive answer on that. I should talk to Alex Morgan since she's involved with this. I will say that I read an article today that a big reason to have a biannual tournament is to bring more youth to the game. And I think that's absolutely a noble pursuit. I also think that FIFA should also, if that's their want, is to bring in more youth to the game, that they should do more to eradicate racism and misogyny and homophobia and transphobia. The sport is supposed to be for everyone. And so I think if you want to attract more youth, you have to make it welcome to everyone.